this video, we want to share with you the 5 best practices that everyone needs to know when setting up a new locator using MetaLocator. Before we dive in and show you some of the things to use in the interface builder, we want to share those 5 best practices. The first one is that the locator be properly branded. You want to make sure that the colors, fonts, and styles in use match your website so that it looks like an integrated part of your website. The next piece is the initial state of the locator. When you share results, you want to make sure that those results are immediately nearby, and that's done so in an automatic way. So nearby results is an important best practice. The other important best practice is that those results be actionable, that each result have a clear call to action and ideally one primary call to action that's present on each result card, so that when the user finds that nearby result, that they have a clear ask, that is whether they want to call the location or email the location or maybe book an appointment, that primary call to action be presented in a bold and clear way. The next best practice is to make sure that those results are relevant. If you have multiple types of results or maybe different products and services that you offer, make sure that you give the user the opportunity to filter their results to make sure that they're relevant to that particular user. And then finally, you want to make sure that you are getting measurable results from your locator so that when people react to that primary call to action, that you have a clear report on how many times that occurred in a given time period and that you understand how effective your locator is. So those 5 best practices: branded locator, a nearby results, actionable results, relevant results, and measurable results. If you follow those 5 best practices, you will create a wonderful locator that should serve you well for years to come. The first best practice that we mentioned was that it should be branded to match your website. And one of the first tabs that's displayed when you come into the Interface Builder is the Style and Color tab. On this tab, you can manage a lot of the branding options available in MetaLocator. The 2 most important ones are the primary and secondary color. Those 2 colors are typically the only 2 colors that are used in MetaLocator templates. So if you change those 2, you'll make sure that any color that's shown to the user matches your brand colors. And so in this example, I'm going to simply choose a red primary and a different version of red secondary color. We'll notice a number of things change in the interface. All the buttons, all the links, the markers, etc., all of this stuff changes to match the primary and secondary color only with those 2 changes. So if you make those 2 changes, the colors should match whatever's going on your website. The next element is to make sure that the font matches. There are 3 elements in the Interface Builder that allow you to control font: the font family, the font size, and how bold it is or how light it is. If your font is not available in this drop-down list, there's about 400 elements in this drop-down. Search support.metalocator.com for the article on how to add a custom font. It's pretty easy. But if you're in this video, I'm going to choose the Tahoma font. I'm going to leave it at font size 1 because it's comfortable for the reader. Font weight allows me to have a stronger or more bold font. I'm going to leave it at 400 in this example. One of the other point-and-click options for styling is the border radius. The border radius controls whether these individual user interface elements have a curved corner or whether they have a square corner. And let's experiment with some of the options. A 0 border radius means a perfectly square corner. So notice the search button, the results card, and the text inputs have all changed to show a square button. If I make this a little bit more extreme and I have a 2.6 border radius, now you'll see that things are very pilled out. They show a very rounded aesthetic. And so the default being somewhere around 0.2, I'm going to leave it right there. That's my preference. And so those are some of the most important style and color elements that you can control just using a point-and-click option. If you have CSS skills or access to a web developer, one of the other most powerful ways you can brand a locator is by adding custom CSS. So if you scroll down here, you can see this big text area allows people to type it in CSS directly. So it might be something like main.metalocator and then a declaration like background color equals red. And if that doesn't mean anything to you, that's okay. The CSS is not a required skill because obviously we've got these point and click tools. But if you really want to tightly match your brand, you can leverage a custom CSS. You might also want to know that you can pop out this control, and now you've got syntax highlighting and other nice CSS editing tools that are available there. And so those are the most important elements with respect to general style and color. The next best practice that we want to mention is that the results that the users see automatically without performing any interaction at all be nearby to them. And so the easiest way to do this is to come into the Interface Builder and go to the Results tab. By default, the initial state is Show All. What you should do is change that to Show Nearest. And what that's going to do is update the initial presentation to show results that are nearby to me. And so you can see in the preview, I'm here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and so I've got some immediate results that are nearby to me. And so this will now be the initial state of the locator. It's going to show nearby results that are most relevant to me. One of the other settings that might be relevant is the auto-find search radius. This is a special radius that is used to calculate whether these nearby results might be relevant. And so if you may not have, depending on the distribution of your results, you might want to increase this a little bit, but not too far, again, depending on what is relevant to your user. So now we've got results that are displayed that are nearby the user, and those have been detected automatically. Now that we're presenting nearby results, when the user sees a result, we want to present to them a clear, bold call to action that represents what we want them to do. And typically, we want them to contact this location. One of the most measurable ways of providing a contact feature is the lead generation features built into MetaLocator. You can see the beginnings of these when you click on email. It presents an email form that will allow the user to contact this location. There's a bunch of options related to lead generation that we're not going to explore in this call, but you can obviously look at our support.metalocator.com and look at a bunch of lead generation options that are available there. In this video, we're going to talk about creating a clear call to action. Right now, we have these relatively subtle calls to action. And what I'd like to do is move website out of the way. I want to make the email button a little bit bolder, maybe a little bit bigger. And I'm also going to change that to say contact us. And so to begin that process, under results, we're going to be manipulating elements in the list. And so we're going to expand the list of settings. And so down here, you'll see options to link to details, the link, which is labeled website, and the email button. So the first thing I'm going to do is change the way that link is represented. I'm going to expand that, and I'm going to remove the secondary button styles. And I'm also going to drag link out of the link container and put it underneath the phone number, basically to get it out of the way so that the user's eye is drawn to the email button. Within the email button, what I'm going to do is expand the options there. Again, I'm going to remove these default styles. And instead of a secondary small button, I'm going to change it to a primary button. And that's going to give it our primary color. And now the user understands that the actions that we want them to take are represented by that primary color. Instead of email, I'm going to be a little bit bolder and I'm going to ask them to contact us. So I'm making that change under the link text there. Now we can see that we're presenting the user a bold call to action, which invokes the lead generation form. The final element I want to touch on is to make sure that these results are relevant to your user. The Rich Media template comes with the category search option already pre-populated. But if that's not available, you can go ahead and click Add Field and then Add Category and add that to your search form. Categories are a really important way of allowing your users to segment the various results if you have different types of results. It'll automatically generate this dropdown, which allows the end user to choose from the various types of results that you have to make sure that those results are relevant. If you follow these best practices, you should result in a locator that is both branded to look like your website, it presents nearby results to your user, that those results are actionable, and that they're relevant, meaning that you allow your user to filter your results, and that the actions in your locator are measurable, in this example by the number of leads that you're capturing. And so if you provide a branded locator with nearby actionable results with a bold call to action, you'll be well on your way to success with MetaLocator.